Breaking news from around your world on this Monday, May 20th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Iran has apparently quadrupled its production of low-enriched uranium amid tensions with the U.S. over Tehran's unraveling nuclear accord. That's according to reports from two semi-official news agencies. While the reports said the production is of uranium enriched only to the 3.67% limit set by the 2015 nuclear deal that Tehran reached with world powers, it means that Iran soon will go beyond the stockpile limitations established by that accord. This news follows days of heightened tensions sparked by the Trump administration's deployment of bombers and an aircraft carrier to the Persian Gulf over still unspecified threats from Iran. So far this month, officials in the United Arab Emirates allege that 4 oil tankers suffered damage in a sabotage attack. Yemeni rebels allied with Iran launched a drone attack on an oil pipeline in Saudi Arabia, and U.S. diplomats relayed a warning that commercial airliners could be misidentified by Iran and attacked, something dismissed by Tehran. This news from Iran comes after a Sunday tweet from President Donald Trump warning Iran it would face its official end if it threatened America again. In the tweet, Trump said, "If Iran wants to fight, that will be the official end of Iran." He went on to say, "Never threaten the United States again." Trump took a more measured approach in an interview with Fox News that aired Sunday night, saying, "I'm not somebody that wants to go to war because war hurts economies. War kills people, most importantly, by far most importantly. I don't want to fight, but you do have situations like Iran. You can't let them have nuclear weapons. You just can't let that happen." An Iranian military official responded to Trump's threat Monday, saying Tehran would have a crushing response to any armed conflict involving the United States. Saudi Arabia became the latest country to openly proclaim an aversion to warfare with Iran. Minister of State for Foreign Affairs Abdel al-Jubeir said Saudi Arabia does not want or seek war with Iran, but if Iran strikes first, the kingdom will respond with all force and determination to defend itself. Riyadh has accused Tehran of ordering drone strikes on 2 Saudi Arabian oil pumping stations on Tuesday, though Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi group claimed responsibility, and Iran has denied involvement. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman reportedly recently discussed strengthening security and stability in the Gulf region with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Jubeir said, "The ball is in their court," referring to Iran. An explosion hit a tourist bus near the Grand Egyptian Museum next to the Pyramids of Giza Sunday, injuring at least 16 people. The bus was reportedly carrying 25 South African tourists. The injured included 7 of the South Africans. The rest of the victims were Egyptian civilians. Most of the injuries were minor. An explosive device detonated near the museum fence as the bus passed. Islamist extremist militants have targeted tourists in Egypt before, but no group immediately claimed responsibility for this attack. The tourism minister said the victims were being fully supported in their onward travels. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said on Monday he has ordered his foreign minister to seek a pact with the United States, Canada, and other nations in support of a development plan for Central America to control immigration. López Obrador said President Trump had made a commitment for U.S. investment in Central America and Mexico and had shown interest in his push for economic development over security aid, but that the next step was to sign an agreement. "We no longer want cooperation for security forces. We don't want the Merida plan. We don't want helicopters mounted with machine guns. We want cooperation for development," López Obrador said, reiterating his view that only economic development will tackle the root causes of immigration. Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard said in December that Washington was committing $5.8 billion to development in Central America and increasing public and private investment in Mexico via the Overseas Private Investment Corporation by $4.8 billion. Television comedian Vladimir Zelensky took the oath of office as Ukraine's new president Monday, promising that as hard as he had worked in the past to make Ukrainians laugh, he would now work to keep them from crying. As his first act, he dismissed parliament, setting up an election in 2 months in which his new party has a chance to win its first seats. Ukraine's parliament is still dominated by the bloc named for Zelensky's defeated opponent, Petro Poroshenko, and smaller parties founded mostly as personal vehicles for political insiders. The inauguration day was marked by informal moments that conveyed the outsider persona that helped carry the political novice to a landslide victory last month. Zelensky high-fived cheering supporters who held their arms outstretched outside the Soviet-era parliament building and stopped for a selfie with the crowd. At one point, he jumped up to kiss a man on the forehead. He later ditched his motorcade to make his way to his new office on foot. Meanwhile, Ukraine's Prime Minister Vladimir Grossman said he would step down after the next government meeting on Wednesday and that he would take part in the upcoming parliamentary elections. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi appears to have won re-election in his country's huge parliamentary elections, according to exit polls. Modi survived in the largest Democratic vote ever, despite widespread voter dissatisfaction over unemployment and the troubles of struggling farmers. Exit polls showed that many of the country's 900 million voters responded positively to Modi's forceful Hindu nationalist politics and the strong image his government has projected abroad. Modi remains incredibly popular despite everything that's happened in the last 5 years, said South Asia expert Milan Vaishnav of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Nothing really sticks to him, he said. At least 7 exit polls projected that Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party and its allies would take at least 280 of the 545 seats in the lower house of parliament, enough to let them choose the prime minister. Australia's governing Liberal National Coalition defied predictions over the weekend to win that country's federal elections, defeating presumptive favorite Labor. The coalition secured an outright parliamentary victory Monday following the shock election victory, allowing Prime Minister Scott Morrison to progress his legislative agenda without the support of independents. Morrison's coalition defied forecasts to be re-elected Saturday in what he called a political miracle. The Australian Electoral Commission on Monday said Morrison's coalition had won 76 seats in Australia's parliament, which is comprised of 151 elected lawmakers. The victory comes in light of most pre-election opinion polling, which largely pointed to a narrow victory for Labor and its leader, Bill Shorten, who announced he would resign after accepting defeat. Members of the Labor Party have blamed a combination of Shorten's unpopularity and the party's controversial tax agenda for the outcome. Huawei appeared headed Monday toward losing its grip on the number 2 ranking in worldwide cell phone sales after Google announced it would comply with U.S. government restrictions meant to punish the Chinese tech powerhouse. Google said basic services would still function on the Android operating system used in Huawei's smartphones. Google also said existing smartphone owners would not lose access to its Google Play App Store or security features. But analysts said unless the U.S. Commerce Department grants exceptions, a ban announced last week on all purchases of U.S. technology would badly hurt Huawei. Washington claims Huawei poses a national security threat. Its placement on the so-called Entity List by the Trump administration last week is widely seen as intended to persuade resistant U.S. allies in Europe to exclude Huawei equipment from their next-generation wireless networks known as 5G. Billionaire investor Robert F. Smith shocked graduating seniors at Morehouse College during his commencement speech on Sunday when he told them he would pay off the student loan debts of everyone in their class at the historically black all-male college in Atlanta. He said, "On behalf of the 8 generations of my family who have been in this country, we're going to put a little fuel in your bus." The students responded with a standing ovation. Morehouse President David Thomas said Smith had made a liberation gift that could total $40 million for the 396 graduating students. Salutatorian Robert James said, "We're looking at each other like, is he being serious? That's a lot of money." Another graduate, Jonathan Epps, called the gift a tremendous blessing and the most generous act he had ever seen. And that's your update for this Monday, May 20th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening and for supporting this podcast, and I hope you have a wonderful week.